everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. Today we're going to dive into this neon here and see if we can fix it. First thing we got to do is get the fenders and the nose cone off so we can get a better look at the frame rails and see how bad it's bent. And I guess I'll be back once I've got that done. It's nothing too exciting, just you know, drill out a few rivets and they come right off. Well, you can see here with everything off, it's a bloody mess. These two front bars up the front hoop used to both kind of splay out as they came forward. Now this one has lost its splay. It goes straight, and that one's got double splay. So anyway, we'll see what we got to do about that. You can see here, that's pretty much where he nailed it, right there on that Nerf bar. And it just shoved the whole front of the car over. This frame rail, the bend in it starts around here, and it's pushed over that way. We should be able to get this pretty much straight. I've been underneath the car, and I don't see any actual damage. It doesn't look to me like the strut towers have moved. I'll have a better look at that shortly. You can see here, this one is bent over starting about here, and it's pulled the motor mount apart. So I'll show you how we're going to fix this. We're probably going to have to take the power plant out of it just to make it easier to get in there and fix everything. Oh, we're just about ready here to pull the engine and transmission out of it. It's just hanging from these front and rear mounts. Everything else is unhooked. It's just kind of dangling there. You can see some of the chaos here. Our poor radiator, we'll be needing a new one of those. You can see, it's hard to see some of the damage, but this whole frame rail is punched over, man, a good 6 or 8 inches. This here is our transmission filter. At least I didn't have to cut it open to see if there's any junk inside it. Nice and clean, that's good. That is the lower rad hose fitting or housing busted off the engine block. What I'm going to do now is just take a couple of measurements, and I'm just going to cut a lot of this stuff away, so we'll pull the engine out the front. This all has to be fixed anyway. That part is destroyed. I'm just going to cut it out. I've got a whole nother snout from another car, so if worse comes to worse, we'll saw the thing off here and just weld new on from there out. That may be the easiest solution. But anyway, we're going to get this stuff cleaned off and get the engine out. Now the engine and transmission are out. This rail on this side is not bad. It's probably going to be just a simple pull back. You can see here it's moved a little bit, but we should be okay getting this one back. This one, on the other hand, is probably going to be a little more involved. But like I said, we will see what we have to do to get it all back. What I'm probably going to do is put the front end back together so I can get wheels on it. And I'm going to get it up and chained down onto the trailer. And we can use that. And then we could pull from there. At least the car will be anchored down. I've got this thing back together into kind of a rolling car, because we'll have to get it up on the trailer to chain it down so we can start pulling on it. I do have another snout, a neon snout out in the back, so we can use that to take some X measurements, like from this hole to that hole, and that'll help us get it perfectly straight. Well, we'll see what happens when we start pulling on this. We've got the car outside now, and we've winched it up onto the trailer backwards. I'll show you in a bit how we're going to get it strapped down to make sure we can pull on it without it, you know, moving all around and causing problems. Also, what we've done is I've gone out the back and got my spare snout. The car, I don't think, is damaged enough to warrant sawing it off and replacing the whole snout, but we can use this for measuring. See, you take diagonal measurements from a point like say like this hole back to this hole here or that hole there. And that's how you can know that you've got stuff, you've got the rails pulled back to the right place. We're going to pull the passenger side rail first because it's the least damaged, and then we'll measure from that to start getting the left rail fixed up. So here we are, we've got this thing all set up to pull. What I've done, we've got it on the trailer, and I've strapped it down cross strap because we're pulling sideways on it, and we don't want the car going like this on the trailer. Also, because we're pulling this way, I jammed a piece of 6x6 in between this wheel and the side of the trailer. We're still going to get all kinds of deflection in tires and suspension bushings and everything before this starts to move, but it will eventually start to move. And what we're going to do is we can pull on the rail and probably bang this bar with the hammer when it's got load on it, and that'll help pull that over. What we're pulling against, we've got our Kubota tractor there, all locked down. The back end of it is chocked. The parking brake is on. It's in 4-wheel drive. Another thing you want to do, we're not pulling this rail up or down. We're just pulling it laterally. So we need to make sure our chain is pretty much close to level, or else you'll start pulling it down and that. Also, it would be much easier to pull this rail if I could get an acute angle on the chain. But obviously, we have to get around this rail here. I guess I could make this loop a lot bigger and pull back here, and I could do that. But anyway, this is how we've got it set up for now. So we're going to start pulling on it a little bit and see what happens. Our measurement, we're measuring from this hole in the frame rail back here to this hole here. So on this car, or this chassis, we've got 42.5 to the center of the hole. Let's go measure our other frame section here. I think we'll find it's a lot less than that. Yeah, this one is exactly 40 inches. So we have to take away 2.5 inches of that splay. So let's get to work. Here we go. See anything moving, Deb?
Yeah.
Now what we'll do is we'll give this, like I said, a good doink up here. Move a little bit there. Let's see here. Now also, when we get to where we're going, well, yeah, we got an inch of it out. We have to pull it a little further because it will spring back, you know. Oh yeah, even from back here I can see it moving. Not much to these little cars. And I purposely leave the front of my cars kind of soft so that when they get bent, they're easy to straighten. And on top of that, the this part of the car takes the brunt of the impact, which kind of saves the rest of the car. That's pretty good, isn't it? Let's see, what do we got here? Still a little bit more to go, another half an inch. But we're almost there. All right, now we're a half an inch past where we need to be. I'm gonna pull it another half an inch and then let it go and see what it relaxes back to. See it moved up?
Yeah.
getting there. Oh, I gotta belt that bar on the top. Look out. All right, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to release it, and we'll see where it goes back to. You see it moving back a little bit, springing back. So we'll just let it go until we've got some slack on the chain, and double check our measurement. Yeah, that's pretty good. $40 exactly. Let's go on. I just want to double check the measurement on that other one. All right, so that's this rail right back where it's supposed to be. You can see how far it bent. This is the cross member that goes across, and it actually twisted it. That's unbelievable. That was quite a hit. But all this is going to go, and we're going to replace all this underneath stuff with tube. All right, so we're starting to pull on this side. Now what we're going to do is take another measurement. I'll find a spot right here, the AC drain hole, and we're going to go over to this hole here. And on this frame, it's 36 inches to the center of the hole. Let me run over and see what I've got on that one. So that's actually supposed to be 39 inches. So we've got a little bit of pulling to do here. This one's really bad. It's kinked really bad right there. I'm not sure how close we're going to be able to get that. But like I said, it doesn't really do much except hold the fenders. See it moving, Deb?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it's back inside the garage. It's all straightened out now. What we're going to do now is hang the front sheet metal on it and make double sure that it's straight and everything's going to line back up again. Before we do that, the only thing we've got left to repair is this frame horn has just a tiny bit of twist in it. So we're going to bolt the rebar onto it and use the rebar as a lever to get that twist out. Get the other end of it bolted up. Then we can put the fenders and the nose and the hood on and make sure everything still fits. Here's what we're up against now. I've got the fenders hung on with some Clecos, and I put the hood on, and you can see on this side, the right side, the hood pin goes right through the hole like it's supposed to. On this side here, you can see it's off 3/4 of an inch or an inch, and the hood overlaps the fender. So what we're dealing with over on this side is, even though we've got the rail back out where it should be, this upper bar of the hoop is still pushed that way a little bit. So what we're going to do, we've got the rebar holding the frame rails together. We're going to get down in there and push against that K-frame mount with the Porta Power and see if we can push this thing over, 3/4 of an inch or so. The hood pins need to be exactly 44 inches apart. So I've pushed this till it's about 44.5 because it's going to spring back somewhat. So now I'm going to release the pressure on the Porta Power and we'll measure and see what we've got. It sprung right back to exactly 44 between the two. So now we'll put the hood on and see how it fits. That's a lot closer. You can see we're still not really going to have a very good gap here. And it's just off a little bit. So we're going to give her another little push and see what we come up with. I pushed it over another 1/2 inch, so we'll release it and see how the hood fits now. Well, there we go. We got her. The hood opens and closes nicely. Now we're going to go ahead and see if we can hang the nose cone back on it. The nose cone went right on. It's all good. I'm very happy. Now we can declare this thing straight and we can carry on. I got to get I've got to get motor and transmission installed back in it, and we have to do a little welding and metal work in the snout. It makes me feel very good when stuff like this, the witness mark of paint between the bumper and the Nerf bar, and the rivet that holds the bumper cover to the Nerf bar, go right back in exactly how they were. We've got this car straight. This is excellent. A cross piece for the front of the hoop was destroyed. You can see it there on the floor. So I made up a new one here. Just used our crappy swap meet pipe bender. It's not really made for this. It's made for electrical conduit. But you could put little bends and stuff like that without kinking it or causing any problem. So it's a handy thing to have around because the odd time you need it, you need it. That's back in good and solid. Now we are going to do something about this. This piece goes across here and it was pretty much destroyed. It was already kind of rotted. It's a Canadian car. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut all this junk off the bottom of the frame rail and we're going to replace it with something I found in the junkyard. This is the new piece that we're going to put under here. We got to clean these brackets off and hang it from this. This is actually a nice piece. It's 2x2 square tube, but with a thin wall. And where you get this, you can get lots of these. If you go to the junkyard and take the front seats out of a PT Cruiser, these are holding up the back of the front seats. Pretty cool piece. So we're going to get to work on that now. First I have to slice these brackets off. Then we'll get these struts welded on and we'll weld it to the car. Okay, we've got that made. Now, before I start welding it in, I want to double check that we've got room for our radiator. This is the radiator, that we're going to use. It's a little bigger than what was actually in here before because I couldn't fit anything bigger. But these are the ones I like to use. They're from like a 2000 Chrysler 300M. And you can see here, the problem we had before with the rad was that it was tall and it touched this bar. And I had to actually heat this up and cave it in a little bit so the rad would nest in with it. But now you can see the radiator is going to sit kind of under that bar. And that's exactly what we want. So we are in good shape. I think we can go ahead, just take a few last measurements to make sure we've got that thing in straight and square, and we'll weld it to the car. This is not Hendrick Motorsports. We work with what we got and what we find lying around. But you know what? We make it work. I think that all went pretty nicely. I've left this bracket on here for now because I do need somewhere to mount my transmission cooler. If we decide we don't use this bracket, we will cut it off. I'm pretty happy with that now. There's still a lot of like superficial damage to the frame horns down there. Like I said, it doesn't do anything. It just kind of holds the front of the car up. This is the important part right here, and it's good. Next thing we're going to do is get this all cleaned up. I'm going to give it a nice fresh coat of gray paint, and then we could start seeing about getting the power plant back in it. That's all the metalwork and welding done. Fantastic. I went and I put a little gray paint on it to make it look a little better. And while this paint dries, we're going to get the engine and transmission over here and start getting them ready to go back in. The last little bits we did was I put 4 studs on here. Those are for the oil cooler and transmission cooler, and a little tie bar across the top to anchor the top of those coolers on. And we can get down to business now. that'll do it for this one. In the next video, we'll put the powertrain together and get it back in. Get the sheet metal back on it. Get it on the ground. Get all our front alignment settings done. And just button everything up. And then it's ready to go to the track for testing to make sure that everything is okay. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. I hope you'll come and join us again and see what we're doing next time. And until then, this is Kevin checking out from the Claremont Classic Garage. So long for now.